valid question. What you have to understand is that there is an oil, the oil higher than Atzilus is not mislabish in the Kerem de Atzilus. And it does not go through Atzilus. It encompasses Atzilus and Biyah as equal units. I think I said it yesterday.
As a?
Equal. It correlates them. This is how it gets the oil Atzilus into Biyah.
That's how it gets the oil Atzilus into Biyah. It sounds like it is an oil that is superior to both of them. So that would be how it gets its own light into all of those levels.
But it's in a completely different way. It's not three slapshus.
Right. So why that's getting light of Atzilus into Biyah? It would be that's the light Shelamayla mi Atzilus encompassing everything.
Because the light Shelamayla Atzilus cannot be slapshus. Bringing the oil Atzilus in Biyah means reducing it to a point where it can be slapshus. In the Misharim that we used, you can clearly see this principle. All right. All right, let's, we have to revisit a little bit the second line from the bottom. We'll start from 3 lines from the bottom. The line begins with the word dafkah. In order to facilitate that neshamas of Atzilus should break through the boundary between Atzilus and Biyah and be nimshach in Biyah. For that you need a gilui oir elyon, a superior oir. And what is and oil that is higher than Atzilus. And what is the unique principle in this oil mal Atzilus? So Atzilus, it says, "Hu b'bchinas." I can start right away from that line. V'hainu lefi shehoyer isof shelamayla me'atzilus. That is because that the oil says that above Atzilus, hu b'bchinas ein soif mamash. It is bebchinas. It is in that status of Ein Sof Mamosh, of true Ein Sof. Atzilus is also Ein Sof, but as we have already learned, and he's going to point out again, there is a certain limit set on this oil Atzilus. But the oil shel Amayim Atzilus is Ein Sof Mamash, true Ein Sof.
Rabbi.
One second. We'll revisit this. V'al and for this reason, Yuchal Liyos Mishom. This is why it is possible to come from there, from this Ein Sof Mamash. Sheyiya Giloy Atzilus Bibiyah. To effectuate this union, that there should be Giloy Atzilus in Biyah. Now, the principle of Ein Sof in general, and then we say Ein Sof Mamash. The principle of Ein Sof is that the presence of that oir is of a dynamic nature, meaning it is not employing any kind of process to negotiate the route, how to get from here to there. Like we mentioned many times, the Baal Shem Tov says, where a person's will is, this is where he is. How does he get there? If you're talking about seichel and midos, you have to negotiate the route. Makes sense how you get there and how you relate to this place. Rotzain defies all limits. As I mentioned many times, that from the perspective of the Rotzen Ha'odom, he encompasses the entire world. Seichel, every place in the world is a different place, and it has different climates and different natures and so forth. But from perspective of the overview of the world, the Rotzain, it relates to the entire world. To identify this principle, I'll ask you the following question. None of you were ever in China. Do you know Chinese?
No.
Amazing. Neither do you, right? You? Right, so China is like a completely different world, really a different culture totally. So to go from here to China is a fundamental, it's almost a shock, a cultural shock, a mental change, difference. I'd like to ask you, how would this change compare to go from here to Mars? What would be the answer?
I would say one is with human life, a fellow human being, and one...
But they'll explain to me later, but first of all, is it comparable?
No.
Not comparable.
No.
We'll explain how it is. It's not comparable.
No.
What is the difference? Not the reason for the difference. What is the difference? You understand what I'm saying? What is the difference between the experience of going to Mars or going to China? open field.
China is still in the world. The mass is like going out of the world.
Others. Okay. China is in the world. But China is, what is it, 15,000 miles away from here? I mean, you can't even perceive the distance. And yet, it's not that dramatic, that categorical of a change. Would you say that the primary difference is that we have better means of getting from here to China than to get from here to Mars? That space shuttle doesn't work as well as airplane? Is that the primary difference?
No.
It's not. In other words, what we recognize, these recognitions are very important. This is what's called the neshama, the human neshama, human awareness of His presence. We are present over here, but this place that we are in, it has its own demarcation, its own nature, and so forth. But at the same time, it is also encompassed by a larger reality, the global reality. And it is the global reality that permits us, allows us to go from here to China. This global reality presents itself to us through the presence of the sky that equally encompasses the entire globe. So from that perspective, it's exactly the same place. It's a different place from a more contained level, an identifiable level. Something that's identifiable with your seichel and midas, that you can relate to, culturally, climate-wise. But from the perspective of its presence, there is no difference. There's no separation. Whereas when we talk about Mars, it's outside of our reality orientation. And therefore, to go from here to Mars is a traumatic experience. You can't even perceive of it in your rotzen and einak, so to speak, on a higher level than seichel. You can't even say, where am I? what is the difference? He says, when you try Gilui Oyer Elyoin, that permits the Gilui of Atzilus in Biyah. As we said, what is the difference? The Atzilus is also Ein Sof. What is the difference between the Gilui Oyer Elyoin, between the Oyer Elyoin, the Malam Atzilus and Atzilus? Atzilus, he's going to now discuss about, but the Malam Atzilus is Ein Sof Mamosh. Ein Sof Mamosh means that it is not definable, it is not distinguishable from one place from the other. And it is present, as we said, in a dynamic manner. Like in our discussion, like the sky is present here and it's present over there. Because that it's the same sky here and there, this allows us to correlate us with China. In other words, we can go to China and continue to speak our language and to eat our food and not lose ourselves. Because there is some commonality, something akin to where we come from.
Is that Kriyas Yamsuf?
This is not Kriyas Yamsuf. But it's a moshel for the Inyan. Kriyas Yamsuf, there's an actual change. This Kriyas Yamsuf could not be projected before it occurred. Even after it occurred, you can project what it means. Going from here to China, it can be projected. Hey, you have to make a decision. It's pretty difficult, but you can be projected. There is some. Where am I going to be? I'm going to be the same world and same earth. Kriyas Yamsuf, walking into the sea. This is only a moshel. See the difference between in proximity and out of proximity.
So that's to say the Nimshal is the orange sof of Atzilus would be like the sky. Yeah.
And orange sof mamash is more than that.
And the Malam Atzilus is like going to Mars,
like going to Mars,
outside
right?
The ghetto.
In our moshel, it's like going to Mars.
Okay.
There is no correlation. There are two different worlds completely. Yes, sir.
So what do you mean that there's a gilui of this alien? How can we have a gilui of something which is constantly present everywhere and has no boundaries and definitions?
That gilui is not the gilui in the same sense like the other Atzilus. It's not mislabish in the kelim. The it has the effect of it. It looks at the world from a completely different angle. Like we said, we explained yesterday. What was about Kriyas Yamsuf? Kriyas Yamsuf was effectuated because Eden came out of Mitzrayim, and they had to go through the Yamsuf. They had to go across the Yamsuf. And he said, coming out of Mitzrayim, Eden were called Tzivos Hashem, the army of Hashem. In other words, they come out to transform, to take the world over in the name of Hashem. For a completely different approach, not within the worldly context. Because they came out from out of the worldly context, worldly boundaries, natures, that water and dry land are separated, were nullified. Wherever they need to go becomes a pathway for them. Because their route, the purpose of their travel is not within a worldly definition. They're not traveling in the world to make business. They're traveling in the world to tell the world something that the world has no shaykhs to. Therefore, the world boundaries are nullified.
This is the influence of Mila, of the Or Elyon Mila Minatzilus.
This is what permitted it to happen.
So,
in other words, this Or Elyon, let's understand that Eibusha could split the sea. This is not to facilitate that the Eibusha should be able to split the sea. The Eibusha can split the sea. There's no limit whatsoever. The point of being an Or Elyon is that you split the sea, but the world should remain a world. How does that happen? Because there's this Or Elyon, this is Ein Sof Mamash, but this Or Elyon wants that there should be a world, but not be limited by worldly criteria. He wants that the Jewish people should be over here and not be hindered by the fact that there is a sea over here. There should be it should be where they need to be. Not reckoning with the limits of travel. Yes.
this is from yesterday. Kriyas Yamsuf Shehi Ushaya Hischabrus Atzilus im the
Right.
So the whole reason we talking about Kriyas Yamsuf is because it's a case of the meeting of Ein Sof of Atzilus with the worlds below that. And is that to the exclusion of the real Ein Sof Mamash, which is beyond Atzilus?
Right. The Ein Sof Mamash facilitated that union.
And union here, like we just said, is where it's infinite, yet
If
the
it
world
was
is
just
not completely nullified.
If it was just the effect of the Ein Sof Mamash, there would be no sea, there would be no reversal back.
Yeah.
After it stopped, the sea went back to its normal state. It wasn't nullified. It was split to facilitate the journey. There's no limit mitzad l'mayla to dry it out and eliminate it. That wasn't the point. This is the union between Atzilus and Biyah.
And
that's one word.
Sorry, and that could not really occur. Our point today is like that would not really occur without the input of Or Shalamayla Atzilus, which somehow correlates these two.
Right. Because Or Shalamayla Atzilus incorporates both. The Yam is a dinya from Atzilus. Why is the Yam a dinya from Atzilus versus dry land? In dry land, every creature is a separate, stands on its own. In the Yam, it is supported by Yam. It is like it is the nature of Atzilus. Right. This is it for this morning. I still have to go to meeting. I'm a little bit late today.